Hello everyone. In this lesson we are finally going live with our website. So by the end of this lesson, instead of just a fake local domain that only you can visit, you'll have a real website up on the web that your friends and family, they can visit that address and start creating critters. In order to make that possible, you need a web host. A web host is a company that leaves their computers or servers on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you send your files to them and they, quote unquote, host it for you. Now, in the world of web hosting, there are countless. There's an infinite sea of companies that want your business, that want your money. I personally can tell you that for the last 19 years, I've used DreamHost. You don't need to use DreamHost. I'm definitely not trying to force an opinion on you. I just often get asked which company I use. The answer is DreamHost. You'll find a link to DreamHost in the resources for this video. If you click on that referral link, I will receive benefit from sending new users their way, but I wouldn't recommend a service that I don't use myself and wholeheartedly trust. So if you use that link, I greatly appreciate it, but you don't need to use DreamHost. You can go do your own research. I think you'll find that a lot of these affordable hosting companies, they all offer similar features. And it's easy to get lost in the rabbit hole of comparing, 10 different companies, and it's hard to make a decision. So I guess I'm just trying to help you not get too stuck on that decision. I use DreamHost and I'm very happy with them. But from their website, under the hosting tab at the top, we're interested in web hosting. So we absolutely do not need WordPress hosting or high performance hosting. We just want basic web hosting. So just this web hosting area. From that screen, if you scroll down a little bit, you have a few different options, but you can just go with the most affordable option. The key difference between these different plans is the number of websites you can have. So even on the most affordable plan, you can have 25 different websites. So you could have like 25 different .com domain projects. So imagine you had Critterloop and 24 other apps like Critterloop. That could all fit on the most affordable plan. But if you want to be able to have 50 websites or 100 websites, you get the idea. The storage is not a big deal. You're not going to use, unless you have an app that's actually being used and is successful, you're not going to use the 25 gigs even on the most affordable plan. Now, don't get me wrong. If your application took off and actually started getting a lot of paid users and they were creating tons of critters, you would eventually use that space up, but I think by then you'd be making enough money from your application that the cost wouldn't matter anymore. For example, in terms of Critterloop and our images, right, they take up space. I just ran the numbers and it looks like the average image of mine is taking up about, I think like 35 kilobytes. No, excuse me, I had 35 images and the average image is about 68 kilobytes. And then if you're charging, like $5 for 50 credits, you'd have 50 of those images. So that's about 3.42 megabytes. Let's round that up to 3.43. So there's 1,000 megabytes in a gigabyte divided by 3.43. That fits in there that many times. If you're charging $5 for each 50 credits, you'd be making, or at least charging almost $1,500 for every 1 gigabyte of space that you're using up. And you're allowed 25 gigabytes. So long story short, by the time you got anywhere close to using 25 gigabytes, money would no longer be a concern, right? You could easily upgrade to a different plan. So to move forward in this video lesson, you're going to need hosting of some kind. If you want to use a different company, that's totally perfect. But from this point forward, I'm going to show you what it would look like if you had a DreamHost account. So this is the DreamHost dashboard. And we're going to spend most of our time in this left-hand menu called Websites. And if you'd expand that, specifically under Manage Websites. You can see I have a lot of different domains and websites hosted on my account. You will have either 1 or 0, but do keep in mind, even on the most affordable plan, it comes bundled with 1 free domain for 1 year. So domains do need to be renewed every year. But for example, like even the most affordable plan, you could have 25 different websites, each with their own .com. A domain like a .com can range anywhere from like $5 a month to hundreds or thousands of dollars a month, depending on how like in demand it is, or if you want to buy it from a third party. But assuming it's available and no one else already has it, it's under $20 a year. But for that first year, you don't need to worry. You get one free domain for 1 year bundled when you sign up. So in terms of your control panel and creating a new website, if you're ready to truly go live and you want to use that one free domain that you got, you could do that. Or let me show you what another option is. Towards the top right where you see Add Website under this Manage Website screen, let's click on Add Website up here. And now we see three main options. So number one, if you have an extra domain or a .com laying around, you could create a website there. Option number two, you can create a subdomain. So like, for example, I own learnwebcode.com. Here that is. Now, if I wanted to add like a subdomain in front of that, like critterloop.learnwebcode.com, you could do that. That's what this subdomain option is. Or the third option, I actually think is really useful, is just a free temporary domain. So like if you're not sure what you want your .com to be yet, but you still want your website live up on the web for your friends and family and coworkers to be able to visit, this is a great option. So why don't we try that? Free temporary domain. So you see, you get to pick your name, and then it's going to be whatever name you pick, .dreamhosters.com. So I'll choose just like critterlooptest.dreamhosters.com. Let's go ahead and click continue. From this screen, we have a few different options. We do not want to install WordPress. We don't need DreamHost to create the website for us. We don't need to migrate. We just want a custom setup. So on this screen, I can explain my thought process. I'm looking for basically the none option. I don't want anyone to do anything for me. I just want a new subdomain where I can add my own files. So I'll click custom setup. Okay, on this next screen, you just need to choose where you want to host your website or files. You probably only have the one hosting account, so it should already be selected. So it'll probably be named something like web hosting or shared. Just go ahead and click continue setup or complete setup. Okay, it looks like we're finished for now. Now, if I try to click on that to open that in a new tab, right away you're going to get an error message, but I believe if you wait even maybe just 3 to 5 minutes, the DNS should register and this should become available. Okay, so off camera I had to wait maybe 3 minutes, but then if you refresh, it's available. So now it's as simple as just uploading our files. So if we go back to this screen, the DreamHost dashboard, I'm looking for File Manager. I want to manage my files. So open up the File Manager. From this screen, let's talk just a minute about convenience versus professional developer practices. In this lesson, we're going to value convenience and ease of setup, but to give you a little bit of homework, if you want to write this down, maybe the next time you build a new app, right? If this is the first app you're building, trust me, you're going to build so many different projects and web applications. The next time you launch a project, maybe look into GitHub and GitHub Actions powered deployment system. I know that sounds like a really wordy, confusing phrase, but if you're wondering how professional developers handle this task of moving their files to a host or a server, I'm just telling you right now, what we're doing in this lesson is not the advanced way, it's the convenient way. If you're wondering what the more advanced professional way is, it's this that we're highlighting right now. So if you want to write that down in your notes file or, a little bit of homework extra credit for later, that's fine. But let me show you how easy this is from the browser-based file manager. So this directory it takes us to, this is not viewable by the web. So this is our sort of one folder up where we can keep things like our database, our .env file, so on and so forth. However, this folder, yours will have a different name than mine, but whatever your domain is, right? Mine's critterlooptest.dreamhosters.com. If you go into that folder, that is your public folder. So your PHP files, your images, your CSS files, so on and so forth. So let's go back up a folder. So you can either click here in the breadcrumbs or just click the top left back button. But this area where I said you could keep your database and your env, let's start here and let's put our env loader and our .env file. So in local WP, just open up the folder directory for your website. So you can click Site Folder, go into App, and then this is what I'm referring to. So we don't need to move our database. Our PHP code will create a brand new, fresh, empty database for us. That way I can have separate data in my dev environment and on my live website. We want to start by moving over our env loader. So you can literally just drag and drop that file onto the browser. Perfect. And just to be clear here, remember, I'm not in the public domain folder. I'm in that one folder up, first directory that it takes me to. So we have env loader. Now let's create our .env file. Now you can't see it because it starts with a dot, so it's a hidden or system file. But what you can do is just create a new empty file in this browser dashboard. So I can click this plus symbol and choose new file. What do I want to name it? So just .env. Hit OK. That should take you into a brand new empty editor screen. And now let's just go find our values that we can copy and paste. So in your File Explorer, when you just open this up with local WP, just open the entirety of the app folder in VS Code. In that new VS Code window it opens, you should see your .env file. Just select everything in that entire file, Command or Control A, copy it into your clipboard, and then in this browser-based interface, just paste it in and hit save down here in the bottom right corner. After you click save, then you can click close, and now we're ready to go into the public folder. Whatever your domain is called, just click onto that folder. And now it's just as simple as dragging and dropping the appropriate files. So in my File Explorer, go into App, go into Public. Now here's the crucial part. We want almost everything in here, but not quite everything. Why don't we start with our Critter Images folder? So I would just use this symbol to say new folder and name it exactly Critter-Images. And then in that folder, I would just copy over, because our Critter Images folder has an index.php file that's preventing, so I'm just dragging and dropping that index.php into the Critter Images folder that prevents people from seeing a directory listing for that folder. Okay, then I'll just click back into my main public domain folder. Let's go back on our local computer. And now we can move over most things. So you could press Control or Command A to select everything, and then we do want to unselect a few key folders. We do not need to move over the Node Modules folder. That's a huge waste of space and time. It's completely unnecessary on the host. So I unselected that. Also, I'm going to unselect WP Includes. That is only here for local development testing purposes in terms of sending curl requests to replicate. So on our live server, they will have curl certificates already set up. We do not need to include anything WordPress related. We also don't need package lock.json or package.json. Other than that, everything else is selected. I do want to move that over, so I would just drag and drop it onto this public web folder. Even though those aren't huge files, it is probably, like, as you can see, it's 56 files. So be patient. It may take a minute. Once it gets going, it should be pretty quick though. So you can see mine hesitated when it was on file 1 or 2, but then it started going really rapidly. Okay, so it just finished. Now here's the moment of truth. If I switch over to this tab and hit refresh, aha, here is our application. Let's try signing up for an account. So sign up. And you'll want to choose an actually secure password now, because this is live on the internet. But go ahead and get signed up. Okay, now in terms of buying credits, you do need to go into your Paddle dashboard really quick, and let me show you what to do. So here I am in my Sandbox Paddle dashboard, and in the left-hand menu, I'm looking for Developer Tools and then Notifications, and we're looking for that webhook. So yes, this one, you probably only have one, but yes, the one that's active. Click on the 3 dots for it and click Edit Destination. Now, the URL, this is the important part. So this was my ngrok domain. Now I want to get rid of that and, include my real domain. So just go to your website, like my DreamHoster's site, just take that entire value from the URL bar, paste it in here, and then at the end, the slash, it's receive-purchase.php. Make sure you're spelling that file name correctly, but go ahead and click Update Destination. I would wait maybe like 3 to 5 seconds or 10 seconds. That should kick in almost immediately. And now we can test a purchase. I might refresh this page just for good measure, but let me try to buy some credits. Okay, moment of truth. Let me click Pay $5. We are contacting your bank. It should automatically close that, take me to this processing screen. That should only sit there for maybe 6 seconds. Awesome, I have my 50 credits. Let me try to create a few critters on my real live website. So So this is the Teal Fox skateboards. Nice. Let me try to create another one. What is this? The Blue Koala bakes cookies. A status of 429 means too many requests too frequently. So Replicate maybe thinks that we shouldn't be able to create another critter, just 2 or 3 seconds later. You could use your AI agent to bake that into your app and say that you can only create a new critter, every 30 seconds or something along those lines. But let me just try this to create this one more time. Perfect. At this point, we have our application live on the web. Your domain will be different than mine, but you can share it with anyone in the world. Your friends, family, coworkers, just let them know how to buy the fake credits with that credit card of 424242, so on and so forth. But you're in business. And remember, we did set up that 30 critter limit, so it would only cost you about 10 cents a day to keep this online for your friends and family to test it out. It's going to bring this video to a close. In our next lesson, let's talk about our next steps. Let's keep things rolling, and I'll see you then. Hello everyone. In this video, I want to talk about next steps. Because this is the first app you've ever built, there's obviously a lot of room for improvement. Let's talk about what I mean. So objectively speaking, the application works. You can't argue with the fact that it works. And if you're actually trying to launch products that generate money, ultimately, the fact that it works and it's secure is all that truly matters, right? If the user experience is great and you're making money and it's secure, the code that you wrote doesn't truly matter. However, while that's true in the entrepreneurial world, right, if you're wanting to launch your own products, if you're going into the job or career world, wanting a job or career as a developer, then the quality of your code 101% matters. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the code that we generated with AI in this course is pretty bad. Not bad in the sense that it doesn't work or that it's super insecure, but bad in terms of being organized, well-structured, clean, easy to understand, and easy to maintain and scale. So if you're wanting to get a job or pursue a career in development, the sign of a good developer is someone who writes code that is easily understood by other developers. Not just tomorrow, but a week from now, a month from now, a year or two from now. Can you open one of these files? And are you going to be able to make sense of it and understand it and expand upon it? And could your coworkers make sense of what your code is doing? So on and so forth. Also, how much did we repeat ourselves in this code? For example, so many different files talk to our database, it would probably make sense to have a reusable function that connects to the database or opens the database in just one location, and then every other file could use it. My point is that our code repeats itself over and over and over. There's no real structure to it, and it works. It gets the job done, but no one is going to look at this code and go, oh, whoever created this is the greatest developer in the world. I want to hire them. Now, in terms of learning how to organize and structure your code and, quote unquote, write better code, there are so many different routes and options that you can do to study and improve. So for example, since our project was in PHP, and that's what you're a little bit familiar with now, if you like a more structured approach, I'd recommend Laravel. I'm not saying right now today, but maybe over the next month or two, you could try to gradually start learning Laravel and rebuild Critterloop a second time from scratch, but use the Laravel framework. Because Laravel will teach you how professional developers think about and structure and organize their projects. Now, I said that this is an option if you like a structured approach because Laravel is a framework, and whenever you're using a framework like Laravel, you have a little bit less freedom, and you need to ask yourself, what is the Laravel way of doing something? So if you like a less structured approach and you want a bit more hands-on, or you want to be philosophical and sort of create a little bit of the organization and structure yourself, I think this is a great video. It's on YouTube by Gary Clark. It's called PHP Framework Pro, but this would teach you how to organize and structure your PHP code yourself. So I guess you could call this a bit more academic or hypothetical or philosophical. I think that's a great approach. If you want something that's already spelled out for you, that is battle tested, that professionals use day in and day out, then I would go the Laravel route. Now, having said all of that, those are just if you want to stay in the PHP world, right? Because that's what we used for Critterloop, but there are so many languages that you could use for server-side web applications. Now, before we talk about anything else, you might be thinking to yourself, but Brad, why did we build CritterLoop the way we did? Why didn't we use Laravel or build our own organized and structured setup? Why did we use quote unquote bad or messy code? And my answer is simple, because using Laravel or building your own framework is incredibly more difficult, astronomically more difficult than the approach we took in this course. And in my opinion, if you start with those difficult options, a lot of times it's easy to get so discouraged you just outright give up. Right? Like if you've never worked with web development at all before, you're going to be 101% overwhelmed trying to use Laravel. Laravel is so organized and everything lives in its own little perfect file, and there's a Laravel way of doing everything, that if you have no concept of building web applications and some of the vocabulary, I just think it would be completely overwhelming. Now, I'm saying that as someone who is a huge fan of Laravel. I love Laravel. I have an entire course about Laravel. However, I'm not even sure if that you should jump into Laravel for your second project. I think you should maybe build a few more projects similar to CritterLoop and just try to improve your own organization with PHP. So maybe you could use AI chat tools to learn about PHP classes or PHP routing, how to repeat yourself less in your PHP code. Maybe get a couple more projects under your belt, and then you could try to use or learn Laravel or build your own framework, so on and so forth. Now, having said that, I don't want to act like these are the only two options, that you have to use Laravel or, build your more advanced framework. I don't want to force that opinion on you. The truth is, there's nothing inherently wrong with our application. If you want to go more towards the entrepreneurial route and build your own products instead of trying to get hired by someone else as a developer, by all means, do whatever works for you. Keep building your knowledge and build things however you want to build them. There is no objectively right or wrong way. It's just a matter of playing certain games and organizing things certain ways if you want to get a job. Now let's change gears a bit. In terms of next steps, if you need client-side interactivity, meaning you need something to happen on the page before an entire page refresh happens. So a good example of that would be like if you had a chat room down here and it needs to send and receive messages without navigating away from the current page. Or maybe like a live search overlay. You could click right here and then it opens a little area where you can search and get results in real time as you type. If you need real-time interactivity like that, you're going to need to learn more about JavaScript. JavaScript is a huge topic, so really quick, I'll just try to summarize it for you. React and Next.js, these are probably the best if you're trying to get a job in terms of the job market. They're very trendy. It looks good on your resume. You'll see a lot of job applications demanding React or Next.js. But in terms of educational value, I would recommend just learning JavaScript itself. I'm showing Wikipedia not because I think this is an actually useful page for you to read. I'm just saying you don't need to learn a JavaScript framework. So there's React, there's Vue, there's Angular, there's all sorts of different frameworks, and Next.js is the most popular full stack React framework. But what I'm trying to let you know is those are good for maybe the job market, playing that game of learning what employers want you to have. But in terms of just raw educational value as a developer, I think you should just learn JavaScript itself if you're so inclined. And then if we're not talking about job market or educational value, if we're just talking about your mental health as a developer, I would recommend just using HTMX and maybe not even worrying about learning too much JavaScript right now. Essentially, HTMX would let you handle things more on the server side, and it's a little bit of JavaScript that drops into your page that adds that sort of live update interactivity feeling, but all of your logic still happens on the server side. So to summarize, job market value, I would go with Next and React. For educational value, to become maybe like a power developer and just for your own inner enjoyment of learning, I would learn raw JavaScript itself. And if you're interested in creating more apps like CritterLoop, if you're going more of the entrepreneurial route where you just want to build things, and as long as they're secure and making you money, that's all you care about, then you might actually really enjoy looking into HTMX. Now, regardless of which path you take, the one thing in common is that you need to keep building things. And you need to not get so discouraged to the point that you give up. So don't get burnt out. Take breaks if you need to. The key right now is to keep having fun, keep that spark of curiosity alive. It's much better to take a break instead of getting burnt out to the point that you lose your joy of coding and developing and building projects. But at this point, now that we've built a real-world app, Critterloop, you have crossed the hardest bridge to cross. You have won the hardest mental battle to win. You now have confidence, genuine confidence, that you can build real-world applications. You've already done it. You've already proved it to yourself. You know that you are capable of doing it. And from here, it's just about continuing to build new projects and slowly but surely building your knowledge, your experience, your vocabulary, your best practices, so on and so forth. In other words, you already know that you have what it takes. Now it's literally just a matter of not giving up, not getting burnt out to the point of giving up. You may not see progress that you're making like day by day or even week by week, but if you keep building things and a bit of substantial time passes, trust me, when you look back, you're going to be shocked at how much you've learned and how far you have come. My heartfelt hope is that building Critterloop in this course has empowered you. You can do it. You've already proved that to yourself. I think you're going to have a lot of fun continuing on your learning journey. I think you're going to surprise yourself at what you can build and accomplish. So regardless of whether you take the entrepreneurial path or the developer career path, I wish you the very, very best of luck. And until the next time we meet in a course, take care.